Good morning, good evening, and happy Halloween to anyone catching this video on the actual holiday. I am doing another finisher video for Mortal Kombat 1, and I'm going to be using Quan Chi and the kameo Scorpion. Now for this Halloween video, I decided to highlight the second of Quan Chi's Fatalities' final offering.
If I had known what you were truly up to...
Why do you think we lied to you?
Take one. Action!
And besides the horror theme of Halloween, I would say the most noteworthy thing about the holiday is the trick-or-treating, the receiving of candy or treats or just some sort of a gift, while also basically threatening to trick or deceive or do something terrible to the person if they do not give you something. Now granted, that mostly takes the form of kids going up to people's houses and saying trick-or-treat and receiving candy, but if we look at the overall theme and concept of trick-or-treat, the threatening to receive something from somebody or doing something evil to them, well, I feel like this final offering fatality for Quan Chi fits that very well. Now, just as an overall description, whenever Quan Chi defeats the opponent and then initiates the fatality, what he will do is possess them and then force them to rip off their own head against their will, and then they offer up their head to Quan Chi as a gift. So in a way, this feels very trick-or-treat appropriate. Not only is Quan Chi receiving a treat from the opponent, he's also inflicting a trick upon them to make them do it. So yeah, this one seemed just really cool, and I thought it'd be really good for Halloween. And on top of that, this video where I go for the fatality is probably my very best fight that I had with Quan Chi against somebody else in the Kombat League. Like, this one was very close from start to finish. And while those can be some of the most stressful kinds of fights in real time, they are by far the most interesting and engaging ones as well. And that remains true even after the fight's over whenever I'm doing these videos. This was a fun one to kind of revisit and just see how close it was and how it could have gone a bunch of different ways just depending on a few different decisions. It was just so close, and I'm really happy I was able to turn it into this video for the holiday. The opponent that I was going against that provided such a really good challenge for me whenever going for this fatality, they were somebody using General Shao and the kameo Kung Lao, which I don't feel like I really see a whole lot of people using General Shao. Like, there's very few videos I have wherever I'm going against this character. Usually it ends up being Johnny Cage, Raiden, Scorpion, or Sub-Zero. Like, those are by far the people that I end up fighting against the most. So it's kind of cool that I got such a good matchup against a character I don't normally get to fight against. And just to reiterate that this matchup was very close between me and this person using General Shao, we already find ourselves in a third and final round to decide one of the matches. And as just a little bit of foreshadowing, get used to me saying that. So since this fight does end up taking a pretty long time overall, you're probably going to notice that I do not immediately go for the fatality the very first time I pick up a match victory against General Shao. And that means this is probably a good time to mention that for most of my fatality related videos, I tend to not want to go for the fatality immediately. There are only a few exceptions to that, but generally the thing I always say in these fatality videos is that I like to wait until I have basically won the entire set. Once I have won the 2 victories I need to win the entire set, at that point during the finish him or her screen, I'll go ahead and go for the fatality, because at that point I do feel like I have truly earned it. And on top of that, I get to conclude the entire set in the most ridiculously violent way possible, just the perfect exclamation point to the entire set. So yeah, I will save the fatalities for the very end pretty much every single time. There are like only 2 videos where that was not the case, and they were definitely kind of outliers. And I guess that kind of gives away that I do eventually win this entire set. Now, had I not said that, and we just saw the outcome of that very first match where General Shao ends up winning, that might not have been obvious at first glance, but yeah, kind of gave that one away. Now, I'm not necessarily against showing videos where I lose the entire set, but when it comes to these fatality videos, just because of the way I like to try and earn the fatality before I do it, if it is a fatality video, you're pretty much guaranteed to see me winning. In the brutality videos, that may not be the case, although I think to this point I only have one video where I ended up losing the set, and that one was very, very close. So even though I lost, I felt like there was a lot of entertainment value in it. But enough about my decision making for these videos. It is Halloween, which is like the perfect time for the horror movies to be broken out and enjoyed. That being said, Quan Chi, the necromancer sorcerer type of character, is definitely one that you would probably expect to see in some kind of a horror film. I mean, the summoning of demons, throwing skeletons at people, possessing them to rip off their own heads. Yeah, I could definitely see this being a horror movie villain. So yeah, if anyone ends up seeing this on Halloween, be sure to go ahead and throw out there what kind of horror films you're wanting to check out for this spooky season. As I am releasing this the day of Halloween, I have not quite decided what film I want to go for tonight, but probably going to go with something classic like American Werewolf in London or something like that. We'll see, I don't know yet. But that one does feel like a pretty good decision. And as far as trick-or-treaters are concerned, I'm probably just going to go ahead and sit this one out and not hand out any candy this year. Now, granted, the lack of treats may leave me susceptible to the kind of trick where I get possessed and have to remove my own head like in this video, but I'm willing to take that chance. Although I may end up having a last-second change of heart and hand out candy, but I'd much rather go out and actually do something. And of course, eventually return home and enjoy a classic werewolf film to send off the holiday. Like, nothing against staying at home and handing out candy, but I'd much rather be out enjoying myself. And before I get more distracted with just random Halloween talk, we now find ourselves in another third and final round to determine who will be the winner of yet another match in this set. Now, this is kind of a desperate moment for me because if I end up losing, that means I lose the entire set. And earlier in this round, I was down a decent amount of health when compared to General Shao, so yeah, the stakes were suddenly getting high and the stress was certainly being felt, but as we already discussed earlier, we know that I come back and I end up taking this into a third and final match, and we know eventually we get to enjoy that fatality from Quan Chi, so yeah, no worries. We end up pulling this off. And right now, what I am trying to do is actually think of a good horror movie equivalent to Quan Chi. And surprisingly, I am kind of drawing a little bit of a blank. You would think that there would be a lot more, good examples of necromancer-related antagonists in horror films, but suddenly I'm having trouble thinking of any. Actually, I kind of do have one comparable scenario for Quan Chi whenever it comes to horror films. Now, these aren't necromancers, at least not to my knowledge, but the design for Quan Chi has always kind of reminded me of the Cenobites from Hellraiser. Like, it kind of feels like he's been stealing their look, so he'd probably fit in just fine with, like, Pinhead, Chatterbox, Butterball, the other Cenobites. And considering how Quan Chi is constantly opening up portals and summoning demons and things of that nature, it would not surprise me whatsoever if he had also managed to find himself a Lament configuration, the little puzzle box from Hellraiser. Yeah, I could probably see him being into the idea of going into the demon realm with them. He definitely strikes me as the kind of guy that'd be into the weird torture from those movies as well, so yeah, I think Quan Chi is just trying to do his very best Cenobite impression. And the real reason for why he got into all this necromancy is just because he really, really wants to meet Pinhead. Like, this strikes me as a scenario where he just wants to hang out with the cool kids. Like, come on, guys, let me be a Cenobite, please? And yeah, with that being said, what I really want now is for there to be a new alternate costume for Quan Chi. And it needs to be the Cenobite palette for Quan Chi. He needs to look like someone who is from a Hellraiser movie. Like, I really want to see that now. But yeah, I thought to myself, Quan Chi is kind of a good character for Halloween just because he does go and dabble in all these things spooky and creepy. The other character I was considering was going to be Ermac. And that's largely because he just kind of gives me the same vibes as like a Deadite from the Evil Dead series, so I could also kind of make some comparisons to that if I had gone with him, but ultimately I went with Quan Chi. I mean, I guess I still could go with Ermac if I really wanted to, so that might still happen, but for right now, I think Quan Chi is going to be my only Halloween video. And stop me if you have heard this one before, but yet again, we are going into a third and final round to determine who will win the match. Which means for 3 consecutive matches, we have gone into a third and final round to determine who the winner would be. And this time, after 3 consecutive matches, this third and final round will be the one that determines who is going to be the overall winner for the entire set in the Kombat League. Like, I wasn't exaggerating, all these were really, really close. And like the last few rounds specifically have all come down to me and General Shao being below 30% health. Like, each of us were just a few hits away, a few decisions away from being a winner or a loser in the other direction. That doesn't change. Neither of us has the opportunity to get comfortable with our life leads because there's basically no real substantial life lead this entire video. And now the grand finale.
Fatality. Quan Chi wins.
And there it is, the final offering fatality for Quan Chi, General Shao's trick and treat for this Halloween. I hope you enjoyed the fatality. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video here. So yeah, at the very end of the outro, I will be sure to show that fatality one final time. That way we can all enjoy it one final time as well before we part ways on this Halloween. So yeah, it came down to a clutch combo into the fatal blow for Quan Chi, and even then I just barely do enough damage to defeat General Shao with that combo and fatal blow. So this one came down to the wire, yet again both of us being below 30% health. And it felt like that was the case every single round for this match. I was very, very happy with the set that I had in the Kombat League. And whenever I did end up winning it and getting the fatality, I was extremely happy that this was going to be my fatality video for Quan Chi. And whenever I did get the recording, I never really thought this was going to be the Halloween video, but then I had the idea, I'm like, man, it's even more perfect with that on top of it. So hopefully you can hear the enthusiasm in my voice because I'm just overall thrilled with how this turned out. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out some of the other stuff I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. I do have other finisher videos for Mortal Kombat 1, just like this. All those can be found under the Mortal Kombat 1 online playlist, so if that is something that interests you, go ahead and check it out. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you again for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Happy Halloween, take care, and I'll see you next time.
Fatality. Quan Chi wins.